Good evening, Navika, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. Navika, Mr. Owaisi is not reading the Riot Act, he's reading the script. भाई सब लिखा हुआ है. Or it was very interesting. It's a wonderful debate and very interesting to see the perspective of two minorities vis-a-vis the majority Hindus. One minority Mr. Jain and the other minority Mr. Rahman. बहरहाल नाविका आप ये समझ लीजिए कि एक भी इंच नहीं दिया जाएगा हिंदुओं को. एक भी इंच. ये आग का दरिया है, इसमें डूब के जाना पड़ेगा. So kudos to Mr. Jain. But let me tell you also this, Navika, you can airbrush history. You can. People have. But you cannot airbrush a civilization. The court must be thanked for declaring that the plea is maintainable. And the Hindus must be thanked for pleading before the court to seek justice. If the holiest shrine of some other religion was demolished by a Hindu king and people of other faiths washed their dirty feet all around the sacred relic, this country would have witnessed a civil war. This atheist owes a debt of gratitude to 1 billion Hindus who are writing their history with the grammar of justice, not anarchy. Especially because it is beyond any doubt that Aurangzeb ordered the demolition of the Kashi Vishwanath temple and ordered that the Gyanvapi mosque be built over it. Only those who have read their history from the Romila Thapar WhatsApp University believe otherwise. It is written in most authentic biography of Aurangzeb, Masir-e Alamgiri, that in 1669 on the orders of Aurangzeb, the Kashi Vishwanath temple was demolished. And then 1 year later, he ordered the demolition of the temple of Mathura and had the idols brought to Agra to be scattered under the steps of the Begum Sahab mosque so that they would be trodden on. ऐसे हैं ये लोग, एक एक इंच के लिए लड़ना पड़ेगा. The Farman is also archived in Bikaner Archives, Navika, and here is Sir Jadunath Sarkar's translation of Masir-e Alamgiri, page 52, quote, Aurangzeb, eager to establish Islam, issued orders to the governors of all the provinces to demolish the schools and temples of the infidels and with the utmost urgency put down the teachings and the public practice of the religion of the misbelievers, unquote. And yet, there are those who deny the Hindus their legitimate right to correct historical injustice, and principal among them are our legislature and the judiciary. To me, Navika, one of the most barbaric legislations ever elected in India is the 1991 Place of Worship Act. But in 2019, the virtual signaling Supreme Court in its Ayodhya judgment willfully ratified this act that obligates maintaining all religious places as they were on August 15, 1947. Historical injustice, Navika, of Kashi can now never be addressed unless Parliament overrides it. A legal recourse to correct historical injustice cannot be denied in a democracy. And this is not a Hindu issue. I, a Darwinian atheist, demand the abrogation of the Place of Worship Act. Navika, just 30 seconds. If a mosque had been demolished by a Hindu king and a temple built on it, I, a kafir and an atheist for whom Islam sanctions death penalty, would have fought with my Muslim brothers for the right of Muslims to legally take back their mosque. If an image could speak 1,000,000 words, it would be that of the Nandi, waiting patiently for 400 years for his Lord to emerge and this historical injustice to be corrected. The Supreme Court said the Places of Worship Act speaks to our history and to the future of the nation. Wrong. This law airbrushes our history and destroys our future. Good evening, Navika. We are bringing in religion because we are afraid. It's as simple as that. And we're bringing in religion because there is one side that will play the victim card. One has to be brutally honest if you want to tackle this problem. There are three issues and one of them you've elaborated, but let me add to that as well. But before that, I want to ask very simple question to my wonderful co-panelists, and I hope through you they would try and answer these two very simple questions. I'm sure and I hope everyone on the panel, you, me, and else, knows the definition of secularism. We proudly proclaim ourselves to be a secular state. By definition, a secular state means there is total, and I repeat, total separation of church and state, i.e. religion and state. The state has got nothing to do with religion, and the religion has got nothing to do with it. That is what secular state is. So my question is, how on earth is UP running 514 religious schools, madrasas? How? If you proudly proclaim yourself to be secular, then you should condemn this. The government, state or center, has no business, if that state or central government is secular, to be running a government school. ये secularism कैसा है? इसको condemn करवाइए नाविका सबसे. Number 2, आप सबसे पूछिए through you कि क्या आपके बच्चे मदरसा में पढ़ते हैं? क्या आपके पास अगर चॉइस है कि आप किसी और स्कूल में भेजेंगे वर्सेस रिलीजियस स्कूल में भेजेंगे, क्या आप अपने बच्चों को मदरसा में भेजोगे? और इसमें यह कहना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है कि 100 साल पहले या 80 साल पहले लाल बहादुर शास्त्री या राजेंद्र प्रसाद पढ़े थे. वो तो लाल बहादुर शास्त्री नदी को क्रॉस करके जाते थे स्कूल में. तो आज भी बच्चे जाएं क्या? If they were given the option, the question is, if you are given the choice, would you send your kid to another school or an unregistered madrasa? These are the two questions. And number 3, this is for all those who are fearful of saying the thing that others like me get branded as bigots or communal bigots. Very simple question. When you say that there are some madrasas preaching hate, we need to identify those. अभी एक मिनिस्टर ने कहा एक मछली सारे तालाब को गंदा करती है, हमें रिफॉर्म चाहिए. आप मुझे ये बताइए, अगर किसी मदरसा में आप 6 साल के बच्चे को ऐसे हिलते हुए रटाएंगे वर्सेस, और वो वर्सेस ये कहती हैं, do not marry the polytheist women unless they come to believe in Islam 2:21. Fight against those who don't believe in Allah and who do not adopt Islam. Fight them until they give jizya while they are humble 9:29. Polytheists are the boss of preachers 98:6. Those who demand their necks will be shackled 40:70. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा, इसमें बहुत सारे पैनलिस्ट हैं जो कहेंगे अरे कॉन्टेक्स्ट देखो, अरे आप काफिर हो, आप नहीं बोल सकते, वो जो भी है, लेकिन ये पढ़ा रहे हैं ना, ये रटाया जा रहा है. तो ये रिफॉर्म नहीं हो सकता. इसमें you have to be straight, you have to be direct and say that you cannot have reform in a madrasa. I say it because I'm not fearful. Half your panelists will be fearful.
No, what do you want? You don't want reform in madrasas? You are saying
there
that
can't. Navika, there cannot be reform in madrasa. There cannot be. So my situation is, state should not run madrasa and a private madrasa should be allowed to run.
Hello, Rahul, and hello to all my wonderful co-panelists. Rahul, we need to understand a few things. Number one, this is entirely in keeping with what has been sanctioned. And when I say we need to understand 2 things. And let me delve into them almost philosophically, because the fact of the matter is that the millions who poured onto the streets demanding Sartan se Juda, for a century who poured on, not demanding exactly this slogan because it's quite recent, but for punishment for blasphemy. These millions are not mad. They are not terrorists. I'm sorry. Neither are they fanatics. They are simply following religious fundamentals. They are all law-abiding, Rahul. Their law is Sharia. The obvious question to ask here is there Islamic sanction for punishing blasphemy? And the answer is yes, there is. Let's start from Quran itself. Allah has specifically ordered that those who abuse Allah and His Messenger, Allah has cursed them in this world and the hereafter and prepared for them a humiliating punishment, 33:57. And that the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger, the exact crime that incidentally Ayatollah Khamenei accused Salman Rushdie of all those decades ago, is that they be killed 533. Now, for 1.8 billion Muslims, Allah's word is inviolable. Further, there are many who believe authoritatively in hadiths as well. So let me quote from Sahih Muslim Hadith 194436. Specifically, it quotes Prophet Muhammad as saying, quote, "Who will kill Ka'b Ashraf the poet? He has maligned Allah the Exalted as well as maligned His Messenger," unquote. So we need to understand, anyone who is perceived to have blasphemed will sooner or later meet the fate of Kamlesh Tiwari or Samuel Paty. And the fact of the matter is that moderate Muslims playing the victim card, as much as they always love to, the fact is they are the ones who are Islamophobic. I am not Islamophobic. I don't fear Islam. I am quoting Islam to you. What's wrong in that? They don't want to quote because they fear Islam. They fear to bring out the commandments of their holy book in their entirety, because they know the moment they do that, people will call them illiberal and hypocrites. So they end up condemning those who are pouring onto the streets. They end up branding them as radicals. All those who are faithfully following the fundamentals, those fellows on the streets must be thinking, "Hamari kya galti hai, bhai? Have you redacted 3357? Have you redacted 533? Have you redacted Sahih Muslim Hadith? If you haven't, then what is the problem? We are following the fundamentals. So that is point number one. Point number two we need to understand is, as I say, this is patently illegal. Now, as a free speech absolutist, why do I say Gustakhe Rasool ki ek hi sartan se juda should be illegal? Because the fact of the matter is, ultimately, rhetorically, I can ask you, there are dozens, if not hundreds of verses that are violently calling for the deaths, maiming, killing, persecution, crucifixion of kafirs and non-believers. 456, 40, 70, 8, 12, 22, 19, so many. But we haven't banned or redacted them. So why are we saying that this should be banned and illegal? The fact of the matter is that in a mob, when you chant this, and as a theoretical exercise, if you were to plant, let us say, an alleged blasphemer like Nupur or Raja Singh into that mob, can you tell me what will happen to those two people? They will be mercilessly lynched. So the fact of the matter is, this is an extra constitutional, extra judicial call to the believers to act according to the two verses that I have mentioned here. So the fact is that in a civilized society, this slogan is barbarian, is barbaric, and it has to be relegated. And all those who chant it in a mob, they have to be persecuted.